Hello, today I'm going to demonstrate how I did the graffiti quilting in this salmon colored border on my quilt today. And truth be told, I don't actually know how other quilters approach graffiti quilting, but this method that I have been using has really taken a lot of the fear factor out of it for me. So what I start out with is a double loop design like this. And I'm just going to work from one end of this little practice swatch to the other. You can see I'm making one loop and then echoing back around it, connecting to the chain, and then continuing on down. And today I'm trying to use what I hope appears to y'all as a thread with medium contrast to my background. So I did a swatch a few minutes ago as practice using navy thread, and I thought that the contrast was too high. It just showed every little imperfection possible. And I don't want something that totally blends, because I want y'all to see what I'm doing, and I want to see how the effect looks like this. But I also don't want something that shows every little imperfection. However, while we are on the topic of imperfections, I want to remind you that you are a human being, and the beauty of your quilting is that it's made by a human hand. And if you wanted a computer-generated design with absolute perfection on your quilt, that is possible with today's technology. But you are quilting it because you want that act of creativity. And I applaud you in that, and I encourage you to be brave, even though it's sometimes difficult to see past our own flaws. All right, so we've gone from one end to the other. Excuse me, I've got a touch of a cold this evening. And I have done these double loops. Some of these loops are more perfect than others. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start filling in on this side of my little pretend border here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with just some echo stitching that I'm gonna treat each section as its own little blurb and do some kind of inventive echo stitching inside there. And then on the other side, we'll do a more freeform design. So what I like about this technique is that it just kind of eases you in. It gives you plenty of time to warm up and to not think too hard about what you've got going on. Because it can be easy to get tense and kind of blocked when you're thinking that you've got to come up with all sorts of creative things. Now you can see I said I'm doing echo stitching, but I am adding some little curls in here, some visual interest, because I'm treating each of these sections as its own self-contained unit. So on this side you can see I'm going to go back and forth a few times before I actually kind of go up on that loop area. Maybe I'll add a little loop-de-doo here. Just kind of warm yourself up, ease into it a bit. You are not doing anything earth-shattering as you're graffiti quilting. What you are doing is you are taking your wheelhouse, your toolbox of quilting, and if you've been following along with the machine quilting blog hop lately, we're now halfway through, and there's a decent number of designs that we have covered and practiced in the hop. So you're taking all of those quilt designs that are in your toolbox and you're going to express them here on your quilt, and you don't have to do it perfectly and you don't have to do any fancy footwork. Just take yourself through your paces. So for me, I learned straight line stitching first, and then I learned how to do swirls when I was doing my very earliest attempts with free motion quilting, and so you can see that that's what I'm doing right here. I'm going back to what was my beginning stroke and filling it in. That doesn't mean you have to remember the exact same thing or exact first thing that you learned, but just take a design that you're very comfortable with and play with it in these spaces that you've already created. And I think that's what I love about starting with those double loops, because as we continue quilting, the double loops are going to vanish a little bit into the rest of this stitching and just become part of the design. but they provide a framework. They provide a starting place and a warm-up so that as we build layer by layer, each layer becomes a little less daunting than the last. You can see here I'm creating a little bit of a flower because, you know, why not? Sky's the limit. It's my quilt, so I can quilt what I want to on it, right? All right, remember that. It's your quilt. You can quilt what you want to on it. Now you can see we've already added a certain layer of complexity just by doing some echoes and some swirls. Now, the next design that I learned was a paisley. So as I, whoops, foot down, as I work my way around, I'm gonna see what I can do with some paisleys on this side after I kind of fill in this initial space. So let's see what happens if I add some paisleys right along this stem. Now, I'm calling these paisleys, but what's really neat is that you can trick yourself into creating a bit of a feather effect by just telling yourself that you're quilting paisleys along a line. And then all of a sudden when you come up for air, you go, huh, that looks kind of feathery. Let's see what happens. Let me slow down so I can see what I'm doing. Let's go back this way a bit. And I want to leave room to get myself back out of this little nook I've created. Let's just have this curve and see what happens. You can see as I've turned, my designs become a little less regular. I'm a little funkier. That's okay. Again, we're creating texture. Sorry if you just heard my sound effect. I definitely make sound effects when I'm quilting, and if it helps you, I highly recommend it. If you need suggestions for sound effects, I recommend checking your local library for like Garfield comics. I went through a lovely stage in my life where I read a lot of Garfield comics. I think that was around 4th grade. It was pretty fabulous. Alright, now I'm going to pause here, and remember, you can do this. You can pause. I'm going to kind of look back, see what I did. So this started out nice and smooth, got a little funky as I turned the corner. So little small of a space to be trying to create a feather effect, but you know what? That's all right. We're going to keep going. And I think this time I'm going to get a little funky with some pebbling. So I'm going to create a shape, which, pardon the kind of potential revulsion of this, but every time I quilt this little swoop-de-doo shape, whether it's on the back of a swirl or like right here, I just am like, okay, and now I'm going to quilt a banana slug because that's exactly what it looks like to me. And clearly I spent too much time doing biology related activities in my youth. I love being out of doors, but apparently that has some side effects that you think of shapes like this as banana slugs when you're quilting. And I'm just adding little leafy shapes because, again, you know, why not? Then I'm going to travel along this line, so I'm going to come back in this corner. And I'm going to do, I think, one big paisley. So I hope y'all are enjoying kind of the constant narrative. I'm trying to let y'all just kind of see how I think through this as I'm experimenting. You don't have to go into this with a plan. Every stitch on this border that I'm working on right now is an experiment. Every shape, I'm just seeing what I can put together in a way that I don't normally do it, and just kind of see what happens. So we have a banana slug turned green bean with some leaves, and now I've added another paisley shape, and I'm gonna bring those around again because, you know, why not? I think the leaves on that pea pod area have started looking like vanilla beans now. I should name all these shapes. Let's add some more swirls. Bring some cohesion from the other side. Cohesion, coherentness. I don't know what word I'm looking for there. Quilt and Jenny, holler at me. What word am I looking for? Come around. How about some more pebbles? Now, this is where I regret my decision that has to have a thread that contrasts it all, because the way pebbles seem to work with my brain is that I have to quilt them for like a solid 5 minutes before they even out. And then they even out a bit, still not, you know, a ton or anything. And so going straight into pebbles like this, I'm gonna get all kinds of uneven things happening. Almost at the end. Now when I get to the end here, I'm gonna pause and I'm just gonna go ahead and clip. Oh, I forgot my thread cutter's acting up. Sorry guys. I'm gonna go ahead and clip this and you can look at the full effect. So as you can see, that initial double loop design has kind of faded amidst the rest of this, but it creates a wonderful backbone, if you will, to creating an overall quilted effect. And you can get as fancy with this as you like to make it look as graffiti-ish as you like. Thanks for watching, everybody.